So we're on the bus. There's all heavy hitters on the bus. Well, all of a sudden, this Sureño is pulling a knife out of his ass. First, he's pulling his pants down. I'm like, well, what is this fool doing? And he's pulling his pants down, and he starts pressing on his stomach, and he's pulling a knife out of his ass. You know, just a little knife, but he's got it pulling it right out of his ass. And he goes, and I was like, sit next to him. He goes, hey, Holmes. He goes, hey, grab his legs, Holmes. He's a fucking clickster. And that's when he starts pulling it out. And I'm like, damn, dude. I was like, so look, I'll be honest with you, and I'll be heads up with you.
So I know you did a bunch of time at that youth authority in California and all of that. You end up going to prison in Arizona. But what was it like growing up in California? Tell the people where you're from.
Originally I'm from Orange County, born in Santa Ana, and then was raised in a small town called Moreno Valley.
Small town. What was it like growing up over there, though?
I mean, I was into skateboarding and got into just normal stuff. What was it like? It was just pretty normal, pretty average.
Average life, growing up normal, but you end up in the youth authority in California. What do you end up there for?
Okay, so, and I didn't end up in the youth authority. I ended up in the juvenile hall system, and then I went elected to go into the adult system. I evaded youth authority.
What was it like over there, getting locked up as a kid?
What was it like? I mean, I don't know. Look, like you had asked how I got there. I had two homies that were friends of mine that were probably headed in the wrong direction. I liked that direction. I probably wanted to embark on it with them. One day we ditched school. We ended up going to some girl's house that we were some chick's house that we used to always go to after school before we'd all depart to our houses. We ended up going into her house without permission. That's what led me into juvenile hall.
You go into her house without permission, but what happens? Do you guys steal their shit, steal her parents' shit?
I'll tell you exactly what happened. That homegirl was Asian. Her name was Faith. Shout out to Faith. Her parents are awesome. She's awesome. My two buddies, Sammy and Randy, were like, hey, let's ditch. Valley View High School, shout out Moreno Valley. And my homie they were like, let's ditch. I used to be nothing back then. So I was like, I really didn't want to, but then I was like, oh, I'll just do it. So we ditched. We went to her house. Her sliding glass door was open all the time. So honestly, we just went back into her yard and we just went back in there. I genuinely thought we were going to hang out and wait for her to get there, kick it a little. That homie, Randy or whatever, went upstairs, stole a necklace. The other idiot stole some cigarettes out of the freezer. I didn't know any of that shit had happened. I was that dumb back then. And so all of a sudden, like, I just go back to my house before 5 o'clock so I don't get in trouble. They leave. And then all of a sudden the police show up, they knock at my door. And that's when they're like, oh, they tell them, oh yeah, there was items that were stolen. All three of us go to juvenile hall that night. My dad elected for me to stay there. He said, you're not going home. In other words, he could have came and picked me up and so look, Sammy went home, Randy went home. My father said, nope. And that's where it all began.
And how long are you there for that?
So I was there. I went to court that week. And so when I went to court, they're like, oh yeah, this and that. And the public defender came up and was like, hey, okay, TJ. And he's like, you could probably go home, but we're talking to your father and it doesn't seem like he wants you at the house. And I'm not throwing my dad under the bus. I was a nightmare, dude. And he didn't want me back at the house. So they were like, we got to figure out a placement or a group home and then I said, okay, well, what's that going to consist of? And then he's all, it'll be like 8 to 10 months. And I said, oh no, I'm not going to sit around for 8 to 10 months and do, well, what's the quickest route? And then he goes, well, you can go to a boot camp called Twin Pines. I didn't know it was a last resort type shit. I said, how long is that one? He said 6 months. I said, I'll do it. And then recruiters came down to the juvenile hall, some like, I guess other inmates and wearing Army fatigues or whatever came over. And this is in 1994 or 95 because I got out in 96. So those homies came over. They're like, oh yeah, what do you want to do? Do you want to do good? And I'm just like, dude, yeah, sure. I really just want to get out of there. I'm like, dude, I ain't trying to, you know what I mean? And so they that's when I went to Twin Pines and was supposed to do 6 months.
You're supposed to do 6 months. How many months did you do?
I love you. I probably did 3 months over there. And look, you know what? There's a story behind that. So I really didn't know because I wasn't gang related. So you got to imagine I'm a skateboarder, I'm a dork, and I show up to this juvenile shit, and I'm starting to learn that I'm from the Inland Empire, supposedly, out there. So it's like, so when I get there to Twin Pines and everything, there's big, huge dudes. I'm real skinny and little. Got into a bunch of fights. It was like a damn boot camp. I didn't want to do any of the activities they were doing. Some homie from LA, from 18th Street, shout out to Gutierrez. Nobody knows his last name, nothing. That homie was getting jumped over there. And when I was in Riverside Juvenile Hall, like on Cypress, there was a couple of fools from LA that were gangsters. So I was like, I kind of had that respect for them because I wasn't a gang member from the Inland Empire. So I kind of had I just had no bias between anyone. So I got to see who was real, who wasn't. You had one blood in the pod, the rest Crips. But I'm just saying it was, so that homie was getting jumped. One day I befriended him and told him, hey, dog, do you want to just dip? And then there was a big homie from Corona Vatos Locos or whatever, some gang out there. And he was like, he gave us a little routine on how to get out of there. And then yeah, we escaped. And you know what I mean? Just did that.
So you escape out of there. What happens when they catch you?
So we escaped from there. We escaped from there. We stayed on the hill for like a night because we couldn't it got so dark in Banning. This is Banning. This was in Idlewild. This Twin Pines. They could look it up. It got so dark out there. Look, when we escaped, we just kind of hid under our racks and had our regular clothes on, like our visiting clothes, like jeans with a white shirt. So we hid under our rack. And then when they called everyone from Chow and they all left to Chow, we stayed there in the cottage. And then I was like, and then I looked at him underneath and I was like, let's roll. And then I rolled out from the bunk. That's the first time I felt freedom. I was like, oh yeah, this shit is, I felt like I was back again. I was like, baby, I'm back in full effect. And it was like, let's go. And we just went down the hill, didn't make it down the hill. It was dark. You saw some cop cars, but it was so lush in that area that there's nothing you could do. Long story short, the next morning we made it all the way down. I came up with some story where, as we're crossing this highway, there's like a there was like these rocks that just went to like a long distance to a high. Dude, I was so hungry, and I'll tell you something that nobody will believe. Actually, I was so thirsty, brother, that, hey, dog, when that homie was, it was a Big Ben jacket, and we were freezing our asses off. And when we got down to the bottom, I was so thirsty that I just got right into that water that was kind of running down and just drank it. And I'll tell you what, I swear to God, I never got sick. I put that on everything I love. But anyway, long story short, we just went down right across the street. There's like a sign in Banning that has it says, don't pick up hitchhikers, has like a running dude on there. We went across, knocked on some dude's door. I was like, I told him, oh yeah, some girls just, left us behind or whatever. And we're trying to get a ride or whatever. He gave us a ride to Moreno Valley. And that's when, unfortunately, I called home because I was hoping that they would allow me to go to New Mexico. And back then they had kind of like a thing that all the inmates were telling me that if you stayed out till you were 18, they could no longer mess with you on the juvenile shit because you don't really have any initial charges. The lady that we were standing in the house, she never even pressed charges. So it's like you escaped. And then I called my parents. They ended up turning me in. They did the right thing. Cops came, got me. The homie from LA though was like, well, let's go to LA. And I was like, oh, hell nah. And then I was like, I'll just stay here. And he made it. So, but that's when I had went back and had to go back to court. So
you end up getting through all of that shit. When do you end up going to New Mexico?
I got through all of that shit. And then I ended up going to one more program, doing bad over there, coming back into the juvenile hall. Judge got tired of me, was like, you know what, we gave you chance after chance. They said, you're going to youth authority. You'll be out when you're 21 or 25. And then some big cholo in there said, there's a new program. You can sign this and do the adult thing. And so I did that, finished up to 6 months in there. And then my father came on an airplane from New Mexico because my parents are originally from New Mexico. They got pregnant and had me in California and my brother in California. My dad came on a plane, landed in Ontario Airport, drove to Banning. I got out of that jail or whatever. He picked me up in the car, took me straight to New Mexico, and I got to New Mexico, but and that's how I got to New Mexico. That's where I was living now.
So now you're in New Mexico with your parents. What's your life like in New Mexico now?
God, that was the life was it was very quick, dude. There was some indoctrination in California and some high level training that I picked up along the way in the adult system that the juvenile did not have to offer. So when I hit New Mexico, I was highly empowered. I had a false empowerment, and I exercised that, and it didn't take long before I got into trouble and landed myself into a 10-year prison sentence in New Mexico.
So you're in New Mexico, you land in trouble. What are you doing?
I'm selling pounds of weed. I got caught for armed robbery. I mean, I'm that dude, so to speak.
That dude, you catch this 10-year bid. We're going to get ready to go to New Mexico, one of the places where one of the most craziest prison riots have ever happened. So you end up catching this 10-year bid. What do you go to prison for over there?
I went to prison for armed robbery, aggravated battery, kidnapping, and firearm enhancement. Armed robbery, aggravated battery, and kidnapping and a firearm enhancement. All of that wrapped into one.
Who are you robbing?
That's a long story. Some homie tried to do some shit to me. I did some shit to him and ended up getting caught up and taking the rap myself and going to prison.
So now you're on your way to prison, 10-year sentence. How old are you?
I am 22 years old.
22 years old, on your way to New Mexico prison. What's your first day like when you get to that prison system?
When I get to that prison system, well, I'll just be honest. I'll just tell you, and I won't even think ahead. Look, my first day was this. As soon as they came, look, a night before, some CO was like, hey, you're going to be dipping. And so we were controlling that unit. We had a great thing going. And so it was like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, shit. So my homies were like blessing me before I left. So then I took off. As soon as I got to, I mean, really what I noticed the difference was when I got to booking, when they're taking us to the prison, we put bigger chains on. We got naked, put a white paper suit on. You know, we threw away all our clothes and everything. So then, and we went to prison. You know what I mean? I saw some elite shade. That shit was, it was all right. Let's just put it to you that way.
So you felt like going to prison was all right?
Look, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to be the first person in the world to say this. I gained a great experience out of it. I rode a great roller coaster ride. I had zero jacket. I have a big name out here. A lot of people know me. I rode it, dog. I rode that wave. When I went to prison, I chose to be the best at prison that I could possibly be. And I knew that when I got out, I was gonna be the best version of what I could be in prison with my morals, but with also just being a good individual in prison, also having fun, picking up some write-ups. And look, I had 85%. So I wasn't gonna, I was riding on like 5 months good time. The first fight you get into, it's over. So I'm like, I'll just go ahead and pick that up quick.
Do people press you as soon as you get there? They're like, yo, man, where you from, man? You Mexican, you white?
No. It's like when I showed up to RDC, it was more like, it's more gang related because this is state prison. So you're showing up and it's, you know, homies from, you know, Sanjo, homies from 18, homies from Barelas, homies from Padillas, homies from, you know, big neighborhoods in New Mexico, straight gangsters doing it up for New Mexico. And it's not quite as organized as California, in my opinion. But so, I mean, are they hitting you up? You're going to clean up the yard. I mean, that's happening. You know what I mean? So when you show up, as soon as I got there, to give you a quick story of like, when you get there, we got sprayed down, we got washed. We spent about 6 hours getting introduced into the prison, medicals, this and that. Then we got into a room, and all of a sudden, some homie came up to me, and he's all, he goes, hey, brother, he goes, hey, that fool's a piece of shit. And first off, it was a brother. So it's like, there's nothing I could do. And so but I was also like, that homie's from your hometown. Go clean it up. And so it was like, all of us, it was some homie from Clovis, some piece of shit, some homie named Sharky, whatever. You know what I mean? And that homie went over there and he's like, oh yeah. So anyway, this homie ended up throwing baby oil and hot water on the dude. They all got caught up for it, but it was that was the first thing that I saw that was kind of prolific, where it was like I seen a lot of stabbings, but the baby oil and hot water was I was like, oh wow, that's it ripped his skin off. Like that black dude turned pink. That's where I was like, that was wild.
So you show up, you're talking about the homies. Are you gang affiliated at this time?
I'm not gang affiliated, but I threw about 15 to 20 riots in my county jail with homies from Albuquerque. So in there, it's not like there's, if you're not, so in there, we did something very prolific. We got rid of, there was a big riot that I was involved in Las Cruces, public information. There was a big riot that I was involved in Las Cruces where there's another gang called S&M. And Sindicato Nuevo Mexico, there you can look them up. They anyway, there was a big riot between us and them. And so Albuquerque really wasn't a gang. It was kind of it was more there to when we started out, it was more to group up and say we're not going to get extorted. We're not going to. It'd be like you guys going against the Mexican mafia, just to say. I mean, on a way lower level. I'm just saying it was overthrowing. Like, look, when we went to the gym that night and some homie that I'll never say his name handed me a bone crusher and said, hey, dog, be there or be square, come to the yard today. And I looked at him in the eyes and I said, I'll be there. And guess what? I was there. And guess what? There was one dude that I swear to God on everything, when that riot kicked off and Gorgeous Beauty happened that day, and they took us into this pretend level 6 in Las Cruces that fake people said, oh, I was in the level 6. Well, you weren't in Santa Fe like I was. But we went to that level 6, and as soon as we came out for a recreation the next day, they owe you an hour. We came out, and all these pieces of shit are coming onto the yard. Fuckers that you've never seen before. Straight zeros walking out and coming onto the compound. And one dude comes rolling over, and I guess I won't even mention his name. Some idiot rolled over, and he goes, hey, TJ, what's up, brother? He's all, I tried to come out there, and he's all, fuck, I had to get a shot of coffee, and the CO locked me in my room. I said, you're done. That's it. It's be there or be square. Look, dude, when they told me to be there, I elected to stand in the day room when I had 10 TVs in my room and watch TV in that day room and wait till they called yard to go onto that compound. And so that's how dedicated everybody should be to go into the yard. So like, unless you want to get raped, you want to get extorted, it was time for everyone as a whole to stand up. And so, people got tired of getting pushed around, and it was a prolific time for this state that I was in there, other than the biggest riots in Santa Fe, which I was there with a couple of them dudes too.
So you go out on this yard, they tell you, man, here's a bone crusher, be ready. You go out there, you're ready. What happens? Does anything happen?
They never said be ready. It was instilled to me, 3 individuals that I won't mention that handed a knife. Everyone got the same indoctrination, and it was be there or be square. It wasn't, look, these clicksters and S&Mers, I give them props to, shout out to a few of them, because when I was in the level 6, we knew that there was no shit talk and waited for the doors. Look, it just happened. There was a riot. Everyone got stabbed. Nobody got killed. People got stabbed on both affairs. We got shot. We got pepper sprayed. We got gassed. We all went to Hole that evening. That was the second or third time I'd ever been to the Hole, but the first time in a level 3 yard that I'd gone to the Hole. And I was like, man, these 3 yards are heavy. Like they're not as 4, 5, and 6 were worse. But I'm saying, I was like, oh yeah, this is nothing compared to the 2 yard. Like that 2 yard was a joke. And so, went to the Hole. I experienced it when we got back from the Hole. Somehow I got caught up in some kind of investigation to where the police from the street came in. They ended up coming in with masks. They put like all of a sudden we got back in from rec and our cells were stripped down. And they started putting trash bags on our windows. Well, I had a little section that was open, so I looked through and I was like, and I could see them, and it's these homies with masks on, and so they got us, and then we were the first inmates to go do the program in Santa Fe. I was the first inmate, one of the first, at least top 10 inmates to do the level 6 program. I'm the only one out today who's done it. I'm probably the only one out today who's been in that level 6, 3AS 109, Thomas Baca. That's where, you know what I mean? It's been there, done that.
What do you end up in the program for?
The institutional stabbing. You know what? As a matter of fact, brother, I have all my paperwork sitting on this damn table right here. But and so we got charged with a bunch of stuff: refusal to be restrained, manufactured weapons, stabbings, tons of institutional write-ups. I thought that I was going to go home because you never realize this, but I started off from that RDC where you come in an introduction, do through shit on him. Ended up in a level 2, got kicked out of that camp, went to another level 2, got kicked out of that, just said, I'll go to a 3. They shot me into a 3. This is where that experience happened. So I figured, I'm not really a 3 inmate. I'm really a 2 who ended up in a 3. But after that incident happened, they took about 13 of us on a bus and 2 of us went to level 6. The rest of them went to 5. All of a sudden, I'm sitting on the bus like, I'm probably going across the street to the level 3. Like, because I'm not really even a 3 inmate. I'm just here for disciplinary on a 3 yard. And so as soon as I'm pulling up, there's some homie right across from me from Roswell. Shout out to that dude. Weirdo looking dude. Had a hairnet tattooed on him. He killed a guard in Santa Rosa. And so I was like, damn, so he's going to the 6. It's obvious. So I just asked transport, hey, where am I going? And he goes, you guys are going to the north. And that's when I was like, damn, I'm going to the 6. It got worse because all of a sudden, as soon as we got into that 6 facility, STG started scrambling around for the dude with the hairnet. And they're like, he ended up stealing my bunk. I was supposed to go to 1A where they have a shower in your room. It's a disciplinary unit. And he was supposed to go to the old death row, which is 3A. And they switched us. I went to the old death row. I went and landed on the commander of the S&M's top tier after we stabbed a bunch of S&Mers. Shout out to Rabbit from the S2. We never did get to each other, but in between both of them. And so that was peculiar.
Let me ask you this, right? I try to ask this question to some people sometimes. When you're going on a mission, right? You know, it's all the way, it's everything, right? That statute of limitations is overweight, you're fine. You're going out here. What goes through your mind when you know, I'm about to go out here and stab somebody? Are you thinking about I might end up with a life sentence? Are you thinking I might get killed out here? Do you have to hype yourself up? People that are watching the show, they don't know what it's like to have to stab somebody. What's it like to have to stab someone, bro?
Yeah. So let me tell them how easy it is. If you're watching this program, I dare you to come into my pod, and I dare you that you didn't take action. You're done. And so the COs in our state, hate to say it, but they're pretty stupid. And so you will end up amongst one of us. And so that's where I say you're going to roll with the program or you won't. And if you don't, good luck to you. You got a big set of balls on you. You got more balls than taking that knife to the yard. And so the knife to the yard is nothing. And so, hey, you're in the game and you're modulating on the street and you come to prison, you want to act like a full level 2 and you go to 3 and you get with the business and you're with it. And look, dude, all the people that say, I was in level 6 and I did. So I went to level 6, spent 1 year over there, then got transferred to a 5, spent 1 year over there, and then got to go to a step down level 4 yard. Oh, big old famous level 4 yard everybody talks about. And then got to go to then I got to go to a 4 yard and spend a whole year there. And I put work in, and guess what? I still got to go on free clear conduct to a prolific level 3 in a lifer unit. And then from that lifer unit, I got to go straight open up Clayton prison, which was pretty notorious. So I think it was that type of.
Get back to what it's like to have to stab someone. Is your adrenaline pumping? Or are you thinking about, man, I might end up, with a life sentence?
No, because they're good dudes. Look, I was on the yard with them in BCDC. So I'm saying I seen them stab fools. I seen them. Those are soldiers and gangsters and as prolific as it gets. So I said, it's an even playing field. What's a big deal? It's not like you're not ready. You know what I mean? So it is what I don't, you know what I mean? It's you're here. I mean, this is, you know what I mean? It is what it is. It wasn't as hard as you thought. You were living there. It'd be hard if they told me, hey, TJ, pack your bags tonight from your big, nice mansion and go back to prison and get with the business. I'd rather buy the pod shoes like I did, a while back. But I'm just saying it's that's a little hard to, that would be hard to, but when you're there, there's a camaraderie as well, dude. It's not just me putting in that work. It's these other homies that are putting in that work. So it's all of us that put that work in. So I can give what you can give if we're all giving. I found prison a very giving place in that sense of I would be to the height. Shout out Ryan Davis. Shout out Silent from Sonho. Shout out all these homies that are doing 118 plus life. And so I'll show you something. This is not even to bug you one bit. 118 plus life. I don't like to play games. That was one of my best friends. And I'll tell you what, there isn't anything that man wouldn't do. And there isn't anything I wouldn't do. And so it's, but that's in that place at that time. And home is in a different setting.
So back then, you were willing to give your life for your homies if it came to that.
No, because honestly, I was so arrogant and had such a hubris to myself and thought prison was innocuous in the walk that I was doing. I really honestly and visualized that we were going to go out there. We would engage in a knife fight. It would be like every other knife fight that was there. Homeboy gets stabbed 35 times. He still makes it. He walks off the yard. It was just more. I have MMA training. I don't know if you looked me up, but my last fight was in 2012, very long time ago. But when I got out was in 2008. I thought I had decent enough training to where to me, I really wasn't worried about it. So it was like, I knew they were, look, I'm worried about the sneak tip. I'm worried about, hey, brother, come and eat breakfast with me, or come on in and let's throw a spread. And I'm apprehensive about shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, but when it comes to an engagement that we're all going to be there, they're lined up, we're lined up. It's not a big deal. Your prison was more prolific, brother. I'll put it to you. That's why I'm just going to give it to you like that. I think you would find ours a little bit less prolific for sure than where maybe you were for sure. I just, you know what I mean? I've studied both, and I got friends from both, and my friends that have been to both. Shout out to those good homies that I won't even mention their name. They say that the feds is a little bit more prolific. You're dealing with a little bit higher level of criminal or individual in general.
And violence. So you're on this level 6 yard. What's one of the worst things you've seen there?
The worst sickening things, because I'm a good person, is 2 people killed themselves. I saw something on transport that was amazing. God, let's see, what did I see at the 6? A guy split a caseworker's wig open by headbutting her. That was nothing.
Stop you. Let me stop you.
Yeah.
So there's a male inmate. He headbutts the case manager, who's a woman, splits her shit open with a headbutt.
Oh, yeah. And look, this homie that was in there too, like I had only done 3 years in the hole. That homie did 5 when I got there. Yeah, that fucker was burnt, dog. I put that on everything. That dude was like, oh, hey, homie, check this out. Sabes como, brother. Like, hey, he was on that with you. When I got there, that's when I was like, oh, wow, this is blood in, blood out. This is that shit where you're just doing too much. It's a little overhyped. It's like the lingo's there, everything's there. It's a real live by the, it's a real different place. Look, it's a hole in the wall. They say, what's the difference? I've had people say, what's the difference between level 5 and level 6, the P&M North or the South? And I'm like, the difference is level 6, you will never see a caseworker. You'll never see a unit manager. You'll never see a nurse. It's a dungeon in there. There's not a stretch of dope going on. There's no game going on. You're shut down. And so it's like, that's where that one's like, it's harder to get messages across. That one's a little bit, there's no phone. I had no phone for a year. So I'm saying like, there's no rules over there. So it's like, but COs do work for you. You're not going to find phones in the level 6. And I was there. I'm just going to be honest. But level 5, you can modulate much more. It's the same structure. You come out 5 hours a week. But I'm saying, for shower and rec, 5 hours a week, an hour a day, Monday through Friday. You're locked down Saturday and Sunday. And when a stabbing happens, you're locked down. Then you hit a metal detector. You come out of your room. They have a little box that they feed you in. And then they starved me for 2 days because they thought I killed the cop, and it was the other homie from Roswell, and I got his cell. So they put me on no tray and everything. I went down to 125 pounds. And then so they let me out like that. Then I had to go walk down. I'd sit in the metal detector. They do all that. Then you go into a cage. Then you get naked. You show them squat and cough. You get dressed again, and then you get to hit a metal detector once more. And then you go into those rec cages that aren't really in anywhere. It's like I'm in my home down that hallway. I just walk there. Then as I come out, there's like rec cages stacked up. And then there was a homie that was there for 5 years already trying to kill the other dude, trying to get the cage open. It's just weird shit. I look at it, my manipulative, but I'm like, that doesn't manipulate me. Go ahead and come through. I'll put feet on you as you come through. I mean, so that's why I'm just saying it isn't, a lot of this shit's hype. I've never seen anyone die in there, but there was about 6 people that I encountered that were dead, my cellie being one of them.
You said they were dead. Explain that.
So on a quick note, just to even help you out so I don't go on a tangent, when I first got to the level 2, Doc died. He was raping some dude. I don't really call it rape because if you're sucking his dick or doing whatever it is, you should never do that. So it's like you're your own man. I can't come to your assistance unless you fight back. The moment I see you fight back, I'm allowed to come in. So it's like things were happening to him. Then his homie showed up to the yard and he's like, "Oh, brother, this fool's doing this shit to me." And so that homie's like, "Well, let's kill him." And so they, killed him. And fucking that dude ended up beating both of them up. They all got caught for it and everything. He had marks on him. And so it was during Big Mac night. We were going to get Big Macs that night. And then all of a sudden they locked us down. We're like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden like an hour later, they're wheeling Doc's body out. And it's like, so that was the first murder. We were off lockdown the next day. Got another murder was a dude. You can look all this one up in Cruces. There was a homie that lived, well, not a homie, a piece of shit that lived 4 cells down from me. Actually, he lived 1, 2, the shower, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. He was in that room. And you know what? That homie killed his cell. He cut his ear off. He didn't do it because he's hardcore. He did it because he was afraid to walk the yard. That was the level 4 yard. So it's like that homie was so scared to come out of his room and program that he figured, I'll kill this fool. So, killed the cellie or whatever.
How much time did he have?
Even life, 30 years. Some weirdo in there for murder. Look, I figured out all the lifers are all over there. Look, a lot of the lifers, what I found out when I beat up a guard in Las Cruces, when they sent me back to Cruces, I got into a fight with a guard. They sent me to Hobbs and kicked me out. And I showed up there and the warden goes, "Get out." And he goes, "Get him out of here. Lock him up." And I was like, "Oh, for what?" And he's all, "Lock him up now." And so they sent me back into the cell and everything. And they're like, "Oh, they're going to ship you out back to level 5. And I was like, "Oh, damn." And then he's all, and then he goes, "Hey, they came back in and said, hey, they're going to reclassify you. You're going to just some other lifer unit." And when I walked into the lifer unit, it was quiet as you could imagine. It was the most non-active unit I'd ever seen in my life. I literally walked in and I was like, you could hear a pin drop. It was like, well, there was nobody. You saw homies coloring in coloring books. I was like, this is the lifer unit? It was the most mellow unit I had ever been on in my life. That's where I was like, this is unreal. This is gorgeous. I was like, man, LJ, what do you think? He's like, it's tits, brother. I was like, my God, not one fight. That's where I was like, wow.
Yeah, see this. You talked about seeing something in transit, right?
Oh, God.
What happened?
Dude, I love you. So finally, I get out of the level 5. I do 1 year in the 6, 1 year in the 5. These guys are burnt over there, dude. And as I'm leaving, there's a Sureño on the bus. Hey, big old dude. Shout out to, well, actually, I can't say his name. I did a tattoo on that dude in the level 4. This is how unsecure our level 4 is in our thing. I'm tattooing through the food port on his back. That's why when they say level 4, I'm like, dude, go look it up. I challenge anyone. I'll give you $10,000 if I wasn't in that level 4. I'll give you my house if I wasn't in that level 4. But long story short, we all get on the transport. We're headed down. Everyone's excited. We're going to the level 4. We're getting out it. We're going to get to come out 4 hours a day instead of 4 hours damn near a week. So we're on the bus. There's all heavy hitters on the bus. Well, all of a sudden, this Sureño is pulling a knife out of his ass. First, he's pulling his pants down. I'm like, well, what is this fool doing? And he's pulling his pants down, and he starts pressing on his stomach, and he's pulling a knife out of his ass. Just a little knife. But he's got it pulling it right out of his ass. And he goes, and I was like sitting next to him. He goes, hey, Holmes. He goes, hey, grab his legs, Holmes. He's a fucking clickster. And that's when he starts pulling it out. And I'm like, damn, dude. I was like, so look, I'll be honest with you, and I'll be heads up with you. Enough with the charade. When it comes down to something like that, I'm not going to take another man's life unless you're really killing me. And I 100% have to fight back with deadly force. I'm not holding a man's legs, but I'm headed to a 4-yard, very prolific gang members. In fact, I got sent to that dude's pod. And so I can't really just say I'm not going to do that. So I just don't say a word. By the grace of God, The CO pulls over, some fat piece of shit pulls over the bus, and he comes over and he's all, hey guys, hey, since you guys have been good, we're gonna let you have a cigarette out here. Dude, I swear to God on Christ, as I was walking out, when I saw his firearm, I literally was like, a flashback happened. I'm like, I'm gonna grab his shirt, grab that firearm, and it's over. Like, look, here's the big picture. You could play Sureño and everything all day long. I'm trying to play go home. And so, but I'm just saying it was like that type of, they broke that up. Fuckers they're on that narration. That same homie, this is all public information. I know you like to look shit up. And this is a twisted story. That same homie from Roswell that was on that bus that was, I'm not a clickster. When he got to the level 4, those S&Mers have a special yard that they have to be on, that they can't be around us. And so all of a sudden, they separated him into a different cell, and that homie was all like, damn, I should have killed, he was heated that we didn't, you know what I mean, get rid of him on the bus. But, and I was like, oh yeah, he is an S&Mer for sure now. He went to cell 8. So he went in there, we went to the other one. But that next morning, I was like, hey man, let us out for the phone. And I'm banging on the door, and the CO's like this. And I'm like, dog, open up the doors. And he's like, you guys are on lockdown. And we're like, oh shit. And so then all of a sudden it comes on the news, there was a stabbing. They killed that dude on the transport with us. So I guess he either had bad paperwork with them, or he really wasn't one of them. It was one or the other. So that was some odd shit to see.
Definitely wild, man. Worst thing you've ever seen, though. Worst thing you ever experienced in prison.
In prison? The worst thing that I've ever experienced in prison. That's a great question. Does it have to be like something happening or someone's case?
It could be anything, man. The worst thing that you experienced, bro. Something that you've seen. Something that you were like, damn, man. Something that affected you.
I didn't like that baby oil in hot water, dude. Like, just saying, like, whenever that baby oil in hot water had hit, I thought it was chicken shit. Because I was like, oh, how come you didn't, like, were you afraid of him to bang heads up? Or was it, like, I mean, the way you got at him it left me jaded. It left me feeling a certain type of way. Like, I didn't like how that went down. Everything else was gas, but I've seen it all. Look, I came from a notorious county jail. Shout out the old West Side. So I'm saying, like, when you showed up and they stole your shoes, they threw you in the shower. So when coming from that to the prison, really, honestly, when I hit the 6 yard, even, it was probably as prolific as the level 4 was equivalent to the West Side. So I'm saying I had already been there. I had already done it. So there wasn't, my cellie died in the county. But I'm just saying it was, that sucked. But there was, in prison, I don't really nothing. Nothing. The guy got stabbed 36 times in front of me, but it was a tiny little shank. It was, you know what I mean? It was just it was nothing. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing.
Dude gets hit with the baby oil, man. Is he screaming? Is he, what?
It was messed up, dude, because that's such a messed up story. Because what had happened is that piece of shit that came up to me and said, hey, Holmes Alvato's a piece of shit. And I said, well, fucking, you're from Clovis. Get rid of the motherfucker. You're both he's from your hometown. Well, what's up? Like, get rid of him. I'm new here too, dog. I'm just starting out my number. This is RDC. This is the reception. Bounce on him. Get rid of him. If you know he has paperwork, there's nothing to wait on. So then, when the doors opened, all of a sudden I heard screaming, and I was like, oh, he's stabbing him. So, I just, in there, you don't want to run out and, oh, so it's like, it was more like, just standing at the cell, making sure that I'm okay. I have my face to my door to make sure that my cell's cleared. I'm still right here in that area. I could hear him screaming. And it's like, and then all of a sudden it just, the COs come in and rush in. This is the first, that little experience in the prison I felt. And I'm like, oh, all right. The county's the same way, but we would have beat up the cops. So I'm like, this one's a little different. Fools are conforming. And so it was like, they just came in. But when I looked at him, dude, it had looked like I honestly, it takes a lot for me, dog. And I was like, I didn't like that. I was like, it was chicken shit. You hurt him, dude. Like, I was like, you really laced him up, like, to where I was like, you should have, like, you know what I mean? You did too much. Like, look, I could see if they're going to rape you and you're someone Ian Dick size, baby oil and hot water, baby. You know what I mean? Baby oil and hot water. That's where it's like, but you know, look, I've heard it. Another thing I didn't like is there was you did you roll with the whites or not?
Yeah.
All right. So the one thing I didn't like was there was an issue where there was a certain individual from Illinois that was on a yard that was raping individuals that was claiming AB. So I mean that was something that I that was odd to me. So I mean I had seen stuff like that. You know what I mean? You want me to tell you some dirty politics once, and I'll just say how the state yard doesn't. It's different than the Fed yard. Homie woke up one day and said, "Hey, Holmes, all the studentos are paying rent." I won't even go into the rest of that story. That's where I swear to God. That's where New Mexico is a trip of a yard, dude. I swear on everything. It's when I was there wasn't much. Hey, you want to get off on that fool? Get off on him. You want to steal his radio? Get off on him and take his radio. It was that type of environment. There was no real rules. It was like
everybody's listening, everybody's watching. We've been talking to you for a while, and you're talking about the homies who you ran. Who did you run with?
Okay, so look, God, I cut hair in there too because I'm a barber. So look, who did I run with? That's the $1 million question. And the answer to that question is I was born in California. I came to New Mexico and played games in New Mexico, and I fell out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. I didn't fall out of Las Cruces. I didn't fall out of anywhere else. So I just gravitated towards the individuals that I had known from the county jail. And God, and that's what I did. I gravitated with the individuals that I knew that I was with, and there was no gang. That's what I'm saying. You got to remember, I got out in 2012. None of that stuff happened until after that. So there was no gang, and so it was just individuals from Albuquerque that band together because the S&M was a gang. It's public information. Albuquerque band together as kind of like a safety network of saying we're not going to join S&M, but we're not punks either. And so that's what our thing. That's what it was. You know what I mean? And guys from a gang, some of them, and some of them who weren't from a gang, but none of them were from that other gang.
It was just a bunch of homies from Albuquerque. Like these are
bunch of homies from Albuquerque. Look, when you ask the real question, brother, and I got mad respect for you, dog. When you ask the real question, it's like, hey, if you were in the feds, who would you roll with? You would have to make a decision without a doubt in that federal environment, in the sense of, I think your social security numbers tied to, they can see, oh, his socials from California, but he done time in Albuquerque. He's, he was, with the business out there, this and that. And so, that would be to be determined.
So really kind of what you were doing is, I mean, they do the same thing in the feds. Make no mistakes about it. It might be the New York car, might be the Bloods, gang, but it's a car. It might be the homies from Syracuse. It might be the homies from Rochester. It depends. It might be dudes from the Midwest. So it's kind of where you're from, man. It's kind of who you ran with in New Mexico, right?
I ran with Albuquerque. So here's the different cars, so to speak, in New Mexico, to give it to you easier. You have Las Cruces as a car. You have Roswell as a car, CTR, Crazy Town Roswell, Las Cruces is a car. Santa Fe and all the other up north is just the Northerners or whatever, because not like in California, but I'm just saying. Then you have the biggest group, which is Albuquerque. They're called Burque now, and Albuquerque is a group. And then you have Las Cruces, which is second biggest, and Roswell, which is third. And then when you go to the feds, shout out to a couple of my homies that I will not mention their name, only because they don't do that over there. Shout out to you, brother. And you know who I'm talking about in Florence, Colorado. I love you. And the thing is, they roll as a car called New Mexico. So it would be something like this. And so you would have that with something that said New Mexico on it. And that would be, if you wanted to go to the feds and you were going to claim your state and make a movement for your state, then you would go there.
Yes, you've been out a while, man. Looks like you're living a good life, man. What are you doing now with your life?
I am a full-time men's salon owner. I am a barber. I am a successful entrepreneur and business owner. I breed fluffy French bulldogs. I sell Mizutani scissors. Shout out to MizutaniScissors.com. You can find us on there. I'm the distributor for New Mexico. I'll be going out to Japan for the World Cut Tour, November 11th, and that's it, guys. I mean, I run a successful business. I currently work 7 days a week. I'm dedicated to my craft. I cut hair while I was in prison. I actually cut the staff's hair, and I actually walked back to the yard and stayed there with the brothers. I never once crossed information either way. I wouldn't look at the UA list, take it back and run it back. I wouldn't tell SDG. I wouldn't. One of the few guys that was probably allowed to do that. My haircuts were that good. If you guys look me up online, they're very good.
So you're living your best life now?
I mean, not yet, brother, because I'm going to be very rich. I'm living a very good life. Look, I looked at this Rolex watch a long time ago. I looked at this watch, the two-tone bluesy Rolex Submariner. I looked at it a very long time ago in a level 5 prison yard, and I flipped through the magazine. Shout out Little Man from Wells Park. And Little Man said, brother, hey, dog, you're going to have that watch one day, dog. He's like, you're going to have that watch. And I said, I appreciate you, dog. And I hung that picture up there. I hung that picture up on my wall, and I was like, hey, dude, hell yeah. And guess what, brother, we got that watch. Little Man still might be in there, dog, but guess what? He's a brother, and we got that watch, dog, and we got much more other shit. We got a house. I started a nonprofit called the Fair Shake Program. I worked with the Albuquerque Parole Department. Shout out to Albuquerque Parole Department. The only part you don't know, guys, is, yeah, I did all that heinous shit, stood up like a man, and then did my time for it. And now I'm giving back to society, and I'm going to be the Malcolm X of my people out here, and I want them to do good. I want my people to be winners. I want my people to do good. I want my people to have the same opportunity that I had. When I got out, I was homeless. I had nothing. And guess what? DVR, I love you. Shout out to DVR. They gave me everything. And it's a rehabilitation program. If you get out of prison, you do need rehab. And guess what? If you get out of prison, you do need to be rehabilitated. And DVR will take you on, and they pay for your barber license like they paid for mine. I got my barber license through them. I signed out of that program, and I paid to get my instructor license. And now I'm also an educator. And I will open a barber school soon, and I will be sitting on the board of barbers for Correction Industries. And shout out to Santa Fe for that. And the governor's reached out to me, and I'm going to give back, guys. I'm going to find out what I could do to give back to my crime specifically. And my crimes, a lot of the heinous shit that I did, a lot of the stuff I did in the institution, I want to give back over there too.
You know, I seen you on Instagram and stuff like that. I see you're doing big things, living a good life, man. I'm happy for you, bro. Put that stuff behind you. There's some youngsters that are watching this show, man. Like, they can make it. You know, I talked about Little Dirk today on a live. This dude had millions and millions of dollars, man, at the top. He's at the top. And now he just gave his whole life away, catches a murder for hire case, death penalty eligible, probably not going to go that way. But he's probably going to end up with 25 or 30 years, man. Sometimes we get it and we blow it, man, and you're doing the right thing. So I commend you for that.
There's rules, and I love the system, and I believe in following the rules. Don't ever get this twisted. They want to take your money. So everyone who's listening to this, follow the rules so you can hold on to your money, and you can keep everything that you have, and our people can evolve into something better. They want to keep us down. How we're going to stay up is we're going to do it the right way and do everything positive. Anyone in Albuquerque, New Mexico that wants my help or my assistance, come to my shop, Sir Men's Salon, and I'll do anything for you. And everybody already knows that. So whatever you need, dude, the world is yours. If I can do it with my 9th grade education, homeless 7 months ago, living in this house, worked my ass off for 6 years, anybody can do it, guys.
Listen, man, definitely appreciate you coming on. Where can the people find you? Tell them where to find you on Instagram, wherever, YouTube. Where can they find you?
Thomas Baca Barber on all platforms. Thomas Baca Barber. Instagram, YouTube. On YouTube, I cut hair. We're going to blow that channel up, and that's where you could find me, guys, and you guys will find me there. I appreciate all of your time, but most appreciative is Chad. Chad, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for everything you do, brother. You are a living legend, and you're an actual inspiration to me, dude. You get me hyped up and wanting to do amazing.
Listen, man, I appreciate you. I'm just a regular dude, man. I actually care about people. That's the difference between us and a lot of other people. Some people just care about that bag. I actually care about people. So look, man, appreciate you coming on. We'll put your links in there. Tell people to go check you out. Blood
That's
on the
right.
Razor Wire TV. With respect until tomorrow.
Razor Wire TV, baby.
We're out.
All right.